applies to us from the angle of what we use or what basic practices we can implement as individuals to ensure that actually our digital safety or our digital identity is secure or inaccessible to unauthorized persons. Second to that is the private sector or the civil society, consisting of small to medium-sized businesses, large corporations, and organizations, either profit or non-profit organizations. So what this basically entails is what standards and technologies are these entities using or having in place to ensure that the data, which is your data, which is our data, is being kept secure and is safe under their custody. Thirdly, the government. Well, the government in this context here is at the heart of national cybersecurity through its different arms and institutions. It's not one single institution that is supposed to put all its focus on ensuring cybersecurity, but it's a collective effort, and hence the idea that it is a shared responsibility. One institution having technological, that is using technology per se, is not any different from any other that may be thinking that they can be reluctant, since all they have in their institution is an IT infrastructure that consists of maybe some a few computers, printers, and yeah, that is the whole idea of an IT infrastructure. So this is a collective effort, and the government in this context is at the heart of it all through policy and strategy development, establishing of legal frameworks, coming up with awareness initiatives, and then capabilities that can be put in place to counter cyber threats. So all this, at the end of the day, is in a bid to ensure that there is a proactive approach to cybersecurity. So we have different institutions of the government coming together: national security, defense side, the civil side of things, all collectively ensuring that they're having defenses in place, they're having personnel in place who actually support or work towards ensuring that the national cybersecurity is in check from time to time, proactively. Not doing one thing, then we relax and say yes. We've ticked off the box of cybersecurity, now we can move on to the next. Unfortunately, cybersecurity is not of that nature. It is a field, or it is a concept that evolves from time to time. Hence, the need for us to be proactive. That is reactive, yes, and proactive approaches. Combining the two gives us an assurance that yes, we may not achieve 100% cybersecurity, but what we can do is ensure that we are keeping the cyber criminals out of the loop. Now, looking at cybersecurity from our national standpoint, an approach to national cybersecurity could be broken down into 5 dimensions. The first being, sorry about that. The first being cybersecurity policy. Cybersecurity policy is basically a plan of actions designed to improve digital security and resilience of national critical infrastructure. Anything really that is of national interest is encompassed under the cybersecurity policy or a strategy. So it's like a direction for us to follow in ensuring that we're having our national cybersecurity in check. The second dimension is cybersecurity culture and society. This is approached by creating a cybersecurity mindset among the end users of technology, that is the public, the citizens per se, through values, attitudes, and practices that these public or the end users can implement from time to time. What kind of activities can this be under this dimension? Having or running national cybersecurity awareness initiatives. Like my colleague Arik mentioned, we started such an initiative last year through the leadership of the National Communication Authority. And it so happened that this was the first of its kind in our country. So things of a sort, more and more, create cybersecurity or a more solid understanding of cybersecurity among the public. And eventually people pick up the idea that yes, it is important for me
yes, Innocent, I think we lost you there.
Innocent. Okay, let me see how I can bring it up.
Hello, I lost you guys for a while.
No, we also lost you.
Okay, I think we're here, right? Okay, I was on the third dimension, building cybersecurity knowledge and capabilities. So this could be in the form of, yes, Eric, you're saying something? Okay, let me just let me move forward. So dimension 3, building cybersecurity knowledge and capabilities.
Yes, Innocent, I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Moving on to dimension number 4, creating effective legal and regulatory frameworks. As we all understand, at a national level, different sectors of the economy or the nation. And these different sectors are affected by cybersecurity in different ways. Since cybersecurity is a cross-cutting kind of an issue, so there is need for effective sectoral regulatory frameworks or policies that guide the entities that are under each of those sectors. Then lastly, standards and technologies. And the idea of having standards and technologies is basically to control risk. So in an entity setting whereby you have technology or system that you're using, what are the do's and don'ts? So the do's and don'ts in this would be the standards. Moving forward, in our own very national context, where are we at if we're to ask ourselves with regards to ensuring cybersecurity? So the previous dimensions that we looked at, these, a combination of all of them lead us down to a road of something known as achieving or attaining cybersecurity maturity, national cybersecurity maturity. So it's a combining from time to time all these different dimensions to see to it that actually frequently a nation is growing in its approach to cybersecurity. So if we're to look at where we are at the moment, we have legal and regulatory frameworks in place, and that comes in the form of the Cyber Crimes and Computer Misuse Provisional Order that was enacted in 2021. I believe we all know of that, or we have read it, or we have looked at it. So this is basically aimed towards ensuring that cybercrime is being fought, and there's a basis for penalizing the cyber criminals. Secondly, cybersecurity culture and society. This is through the initiatives that we talked of earlier on, cybersecurity awareness initiatives, which we started last year. And over time, we have seen different institutions coming up, joining into the flow of ensuring that end users are informed about cybersecurity from time to time. Thirdly, cybersecurity knowledge and capabilities. Under this dimension, I can assure you that we have ongoing projects at a national level that is under the leadership of the National Communication Authority in the form of establishment of something known as a computer emergency response team. So the purpose or the sole idea of having this team in place is to see that there is a national watchdog over cybersecurity threats that evolving from time to time are affecting different sectors of our economy. So with this in place, we will know, we'll have a central platform for cyber threat information sharing. We'll have a common ground for fighting these cyber threats. We'll also have a common ground for coming up with cyber awareness initiatives on the basis of the threats that are affecting our landscape or our nation. So once we know what is affecting us, we can easily communicate to the public how they can defend themselves against certain kind of threats. So regardless, that's not all there is to cybersecurity at the national level. We still have more that needs to be done. And like I did mention, this is a combination of 5 different dimensions. And as you may have noticed, so far we have a few dimensions covered, but we still have more of those dimensions that we still need to incorporate or invest our effort, our skill set, our finances in as a nation to ensure that our cybersecurity maturity is on point. So thank you all. This is all that I had to share with you with regards to our national cybersecurity approach, our national cybersecurity standpoint as of now. Thank you all for listening, and I hope I was clear loud enough.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bokeni Innocent. And maybe I've just mentioned his name for those that came on and didn't know who the speaker is. So as you have all heard that we're actually on the right track, thanks to the leadership of the National Communication Authority. So hopefully within the shortest period of time, we will have something to call a start. So yeah, so without wasting much time, over to you, my colleague Maurice.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Maurice Thomas Elisama. I am the Information Security Manager at MTN South Sudan. So in information security, we also, cybersecurity is a subset of information security. So the difference between cybersecurity and information security is that with information security, we're looking at the general aspect of our data and for instance, the confidentiality and the integrity and the availability of it, but not only in the cyber realm, but everywhere else. However, with cybersecurity, we focus on the cyber realm. So that's what we focus on when we come to cybersecurity. But all I want us to know is that information security is quite wider than cybersecurity in that context. So I am going to speak to this specific document. I hope you can see my screen. There are a number of points that I've had Kenny speak about that also cut across what I'm going to talk about today. In the US, there is a framework. So basically what this framework is it's a guideline. So it's a guideline that would provide assistance to it could be government institutions or it could be private institutions on how they can strengthen the cybersecurity of their environment, just to make sure that intruders cannot steal their data. And in this case, when I talk about data, I also thought about it while we're having this same discussion. Some people might not understand, but there are a number of your information that is quite very important to you. For instance, your personally identifiable information. So that kind of data is very, very important to one. For instance, also their health data. So in some other countries, what they've done is they have identified like critical data, and this critical data, they have also said, for instance, what we need to do is we need to make sure that these systems that are holding this kind of data is secure. We have to put in place different measures just to make sure that these systems are not compromised and people's data are not stolen. Because, for instance, anyone else out there who holds, for instance, customer, know your customer details, KYC details, know your customer. So if we're doing SIM registration, we will take your details. So we would not want that sort of information to fall into the hands of the wrong people. They might use that to either, let's say, they can use that information generally to try to hack you. For instance, it could be bank account, it could be email, because sometimes you notice back in the days, people used to put questions, or still even now, people used to put some questions on their emails just to recover them, and they would say, what year was I born, or something like that. And that kind of information is obviously in your personally identifiable information. And if that kind of information falls into the wrong hands of people, some people can try to decipher all these things. And out of 1 million users, you might find out maybe like 10% of them literally use their actual date of birth in their recovery method somewhere. So anyway, these are all kind of data that we need to make sure we protect. So from a private sector perspective, so what we do, for instance, at MTN is we make sure that we do have a guideline in place. So this guideline is going to help us as an organization. We continuously monitor our systems just to make sure that at any one point we are not compromised, because if we are compromised, our customers are compromised. And if our customers are compromised, the regulator will also come to us and probably issue us some penalties and stuff like that for not being able to protect our customer data. So from a private sector organization or any company, to make sure that they do have someone in their team that has the roles and responsibilities of a cybersecurity or information security officer. So that would help them a lot, because they would have someone who would keep on doing the checks. So today I would want to just focus on the NIST cybersecurity framework. And the NIST cybersecurity framework was a framework that was started, I think it was 2014. during Barack Obama's time in government, and I think he noticed that, or his team noticed that this is quite key to their country, but then also us being a smaller country, we would leverage on, I mean, other countries that have gone ahead and see what we can benefit out of what they have done for themselves. So also as an organization, we can do a similar thing. So what I would want to focus on, for instance, from a NIST cybersecurity framework is that it has got, for instance, it has got components. Under these components, we have something called the core, we have the implementation tier, and we've got profiles. So ideally, what I'm showing you in this case, these are the cores, for instance, the identify, the protect, the detect, the respond, and the recover. So these are cores of the NIST cybersecurity framework. But then if we look into these cores closely, each and every core has got certain activities, and these activities have got outcomes. So for instance, under the protect, we would say that as an organization, we should have an awareness and training, for instance, program in MTN, such that we would protect our users. Sorry, someone who's not muted, may you please mute? Okay. So under the protect, for instance, we would say that let us have, as an organization, let us have an awareness and a training sort of program, and then we have this program each and every single quarter, every after 3 months. So these kind of things help us just to remind the users, because
okay, in your certificate. But
please,
now
someone who is not.
Please, if you are not mute, please mute, because you are interrupting the presenter.
Yes, Arich, can you, is there a way for the organizer to mute someone? All right, okay, it's okay. So I would say,
there's a capacity to
yes, can you hear me? No, okay. So I would say from a protect perspective, we would come up with an awareness training just to make sure that our users are informed. They know what they are supposed to do, just to make sure that we are not compromised by, for instance, a phishing attack. Because someone would send you a phishing attack, and all they're expecting is if you click on that link, then they would compromise your machine and probably encrypt it and probably ask for ransom. So we can put a number of measures in place and all that stuff. For instance, to identify and like let's say I would put in place an antivirus. But then if I do not inform my users that an antivirus alone will not obviously help you if you go to the malicious sites or sites that do have malware, that if you download them onto your machine, it would compromise your machine. Lual, may you help me mute? Lual, may help me mute? Okay, thank you. Yes. So if we do not inform our staff that they don't have to click on these emails that they see that are suspicious, and we don't give them the training that is required to even identify such kind of emails, then obviously us as an organization, we will actually be liable to these attacks. And if we are liable to these sort of things, one, we might either lose the company data that would probably help us to run as a business, and that obviously would compromise the availability of us being there just to support our customers, for instance, or it could even compromise the confidentiality. So from a protect perspective, that is what we do. But then the other thing that I would also want to talk about is if if we look into the details of the NIST cybersecurity framework, we've also got something called the implementation tiers. So with the implementation tiers, what it usually does is that it would tell us where we as an organization stand. So there are 4 implementation tiers. There is tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you look at all these cores that I have stated here: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So if we look at all these specific tiers, and then we sit down as an organization and we look at what is relevant to us as an organization, we are able to actually come up with an assessment that would say where we as an organization fall when it comes to the tiers. So if let's say we fall under the tier, tier 1, for instance. So what do we have to do as an organization to actually get to tier 2? And from tier 2, what do we have to do to get to tier 3? So basically, in all those other things, there are different kind of outcomes that we need to just focus on. So if we focus on any of these outcomes, it would help us to, for instance, beef up our security for the whole organization. So there are some organizations that do have, let's say, let me give an example of internal affairs. For instance, they do have a database that holds our data for passport and national ID. So from that perspective, so we would say if that organization is a tier 1, probably they do not have a way to encrypt the database that holds that data at rest. So now the next question would be, what should we have to do to actually encrypt this data? Then when we encrypt this data, we will make it more secure. So if anyone else, for instance, walks into that organization and then tries to take a drive or whatever, they will not be able to actually see that data. So it would mean our information is not going to be compromised. So that is just something that, for instance, this sort of framework can actually do. So it can help us just to make sure that we as an organization can determine where we fall at a given period in time. So even to set up the entire, for instance, tier, one would obviously sit down and then look at what outcomes as an organization can we include into our profile. So our profile, for instance, in this case would be the profile that would state that, let's say we as an organization, let's say if I am an organization that does not hold like customer critical data, then obviously in my profile, I would not include that. But if I do have critical data, then in my profile, I would include that. So I would probably come up with a list of all the different items that I feel is critical to our organization. And then if it falls into the hands of the wrong people, it would actually compromise the security of my organization. So basically, that's what the NIST cybersecurity framework does. And I would obviously advise anyone that is running or is working for any organization, or it could be a company, I mean, to go out there and just check it out. It's a free resource. I mean, it's out for free by the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. They have provided this information free of charge. It is not like some of the other standards or frameworks that are out there. There is a standard. There's a framework. There's an ISO 27001 a standard that is similar to this. It also helps you to like beef up the security of your environment, and that one is more a certification that if you as a company, you adhere to most of these different core values and stuff like that, and you are that secure as an environment, and let's say an external auditor comes through and then comes and audits you and confirms that as per what you had stated in your self-assessment, you are really compliant by that, then obviously you would be an ISO 27001 certified as an organization. So yeah, from a private sector perspective, that is what I had to say. I hope there are some questions for me. unfortunately, I was so, I'm afraid I was so technical or detailed from an InfoSec perspective, but in case, I mean, one would need me to sort of like break down on some of the other things, I think we can probably engage into some questions probably right now, and we can understand each other. Thank you.
Maurice, for that insight. For those of you that just joined us, today we're talking about cybersecurity and why cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. So it's everyone's responsibility, you, everyone that is using the technology that we are embracing right now. So there's none of you that can say that the technology is bad. So going back to Maurice, Maurice, for those of you that just come, he's the Information Security Manager for MTN South Sudan. So you can ask him questions.
Sorry, Yeah, I had lost you there, but now I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. You can ask him questions, even maybe because maybe most of you are MTN users. So even if you think that maybe your data that MTN is having is not secure, maybe you can ask Maurice that, are you actually doing this? And maybe he will respond. So you have the floor, you can ask him. But even the same to our first presenter, Mr. Bukeni, you can ask him maybe in regards to the government that he was talking about. So ask the question and then you will be answered. Let's try to be interactive so that we understand what we're talking about even more. Then now let's talk about us as users. What should users do? How should we perform our part of the responsibility as users? What should you do as a user, and to make sure that you are making sure that your own part of cybersecurity is it's taken care of? For what I mean there is, for example, if you are given a device to log in, and then you are given an option to create a password, for example, let's say your Facebook account, and then you have a password. So you creating a weak password, that is your responsibility. And you writing down your password and then maybe sharing it with anyone is also your responsibility. So what is one of the things that you will do as a user to make sure that you are doing your part? One
so Robert,
is,
I would like to go first. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, Robert. Sorry. Yeah, there's something that I just wanted to say out there also, based on the information security policy that like each and every organization must have. Because I'm thinking, okay, and I've also seen this a lot. There are a lot of people out there that they're trying to scam us. And I've had this a lot coming through from an MTN perspective, and people are saying that their Facebook was hacked. But then when I dig deep, I find out that their Facebook was hacked because someone promised them free MTN data for them to share their password with them. And then they share the password, and when they share the password, this person logs into, or if not even the password, it would even be a code. Probably they know your phone number, and then they tell you to share the code that they're sending for reset. And this has been happening quite a lot. And I feel it all goes down to, from a public awareness perspective, but I think this would still go back to the National Communication Authority, because I mean, they need to obviously do that. And I'm also glad that SafetyComm is also doing something in terms of the awareness. But from even a private sector perspective, as an organization, if we do have, for instance, an information security policy, and all the staff actually read that policy, then obviously they would understand what they should share and what they should not share. You can't share your password with someone and don't expect to be compromised. You will definitely be compromised. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. Even to add on what you just said, the there was an incident whereby someone asked someone who is working at MTN that, is it true that you guys are sharing free data? And then the person, maybe the person is not at the top level, or maybe is not aware of what is going on or what promotions you guys are putting in place. So the person say, I don't know, maybe it's true, but it's at the top, you understand? So sometimes it's also good to let people know that if there's something trendy that's coming, people, you let everyone know, including your cleaners, that this is not happening. So if you get a member of your family, you tell them that this is not happening so that they do not fall for such. So maybe, yeah. Yes, Maurice?
Thank you. Okay. No, that is not it. That is not it. But to tell everyone,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yes. So, and
sorry.
Yes, speak, Maurice.
No, it's okay. No, it's just something with my mic. It's okay.
Okay. So that's your responsibility as a user. Whatever account that requires you to use your password, you do not share it. You create a strong one, and you also make sure that it's not written down. And maybe if you're sharing a device with someone, make sure that when you are logging in, you make sure you log out or you erase your account from that device so that the person does not get into your account and then perform or ask for money on your behalf, write things that will put your reputation on the line on your behalf. So that is one part of your responsibility. Another one is maybe leaving your computer unattended, maybe in public place, and then maybe you think people that are around are people you trust. So there, you're putting your data at risk. Someone could access your computer and then they start seeing stuff. We've come across cases of let's say revenge porn, where people put their photos, split photos, shared, and someone will say that I do not know how that went out. So sometimes it's you giving access to, you giving your phone to someone to access, or leaving your device unattended, or maybe sharing your password. All those are part of your responsibility. So it's up to you to make sure that you're doing your part, so that if you are hacked, maybe it's something that's completely, that was actually supposed to hack you. And then another one is maybe you studying the links, like do not fall for easy links that I sent to you as an individual. Then, for example, that's telling you to click, so that, for example, the one that my colleague was talking about. Another one would say that they lost access to their Facebook and they are trying to use your number to reset their password. And this is someone you've had a chat with before. So if you are doing this, then it's you failing your responsibility, because if you give your number and then the person will tell you that there's a code of mine that has been sent to you, please forward it to me. It's you not doing your responsibility as a user. So you be very keen. And like Maury said before, there's a disclaimer: MTN does not ask for people's password to give free data. If there's free data, you will get that promotion announced on the MTN official communication channels. So never fall for that. Tell someone you know, and that someone you know should tell another person. Maybe to my colleague Bukeni, you can add something on maybe the user.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Yeah, I would like to just iron out our understanding, or a common understanding of hacking that is common among the public. And you find that people oftenly, someone can tell you my Facebook account was hacked. And when you listen to the scenario, literally, it's nowhere close to anything as hacking. And why I say this, you find that it could be a scenario whereby this person went to an internet cafe, logged into their Facebook account, and then when their time elapsed, they simply walked out. They didn't pay, or even they didn't bother to log out. or they log into their social media account on another platform, on another phone, somebody else's phone. So the fact that they left this phone and they forgot about it, the next person who comes and uses this device, being curious, in their curiosity, eventually, plays about with your account and does whatever they want. So the next thing you're unable to do is to actually access this account of yours. Why? Because not that you were really hacked by someone, but what happened is you were negligent enough and left this account of yours for the public. So as much as yes, we may emphasize the passwords, but one key thing to also implement as a user is multi-factor authentication. So how does that work out? I have a password, and for every login attempt that I make, there has to be a code that has to be sent on, let me say, my phone that I attached onto my account when I was setting up multi-factor authentication. So without that code, because this code is usually on my phone, and every time I'm with my phone, in the event that I forget my password, or even if someone knows it, they can't log into my social media platform without that second layer of security. So good enough, most of these social media platforms have this feature that we don't embrace. So I think it would be a good thing for us to start revising our approach to security or our own digital safety. And this basically goes down to doing security or doing our use of technology as a culture, as a way of life. Technology has become our way of life, and definitely cybersecurity is also here to stay. It just becomes more complex over time as technology evolves. So must we also be the same. We have to be paranoid and constantly on the lookout by implementing and practicing cybersecurity from time to time. As I mentioned, ensuring that we have multi-factor authentication set on our different platforms that we have accounts on the internet. And with that,
can you shut the fuck up?
Bukeni, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I had to add on. If you all have.
Yes, hello.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah, anyone with a question, you can speak. Yeah.
Yes, so my name is Nixon, and I'm the GIS analyst and application developer at Reach. So my question goes to Maurice. I just wanted to know what MTN as an entity has done to make sure like application developers actually integrate with them applications that are very secure and do not in any way collect their data in the background without them knowing. So I just wanted him to enlighten. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question.
Wait, let Maurice answer first. Maurice.
Yes. Malish Nixon. So basically, when you're going to integrate your application with us, obviously there are some contracts that obviously we will have to sign with you. One, and in that contract there is a security annexure that is embedded into that contract, and obviously it states a number of things, but one of them is to do with data protection from your side also, and also stuff to do with, because at some point the leakage might even be from the application person side. So we state most of these clauses in that security annexure. And then obviously connectivity between between you and us, for instance, has to go through a secure tunnel. the IPsec channel over an HTTPS like connection over an IPsec channel. So there's obviously double encryption there, just to make sure that as long as that traffic is passing through the internet, no one can see anything that, any communication between you and us. That's what we obviously do. Then there are aspects of the KYC, obviously, that we need to understand, like from your application. Would your application need that customer data to actually be shown on your side or on our side? But obviously, the best thing would be, we would not want that to, like, the data, the customer data that is on our side, to actually leak to your side. So with your application, probably when people are onboarding onto your application, they would provide their details, right? So that would rely on your side, and then from our side, we just do more like a verification check. Let's say if your application is using a certain, if one of the users is saying that their name is so and so, and then anything that is attaching it to their phone number or something like that, we just verify, but the verification would probably be on our side. But it's quite I would say, for one to give you a definite answer, I would need to understand what your application looks like and how it is going to actually work. But the most important thing is our customer data needs to sit on our side, and then your customer data needs to obviously sit on your side. But then the communication between your application and our application is obviously going to be an IPsec channel or probably HTTPS.
Thank you, Maurice. Maybe if you have have you answered?
In addition to that, there is this scenario, I don't know whether it is still going on, where MTN SIM cards are sold like in the street. Understand? So like in that scenario, a user gets that SIM card and then registers. Okay, like uses my application with maybe like a different username. What I just wanted to know, like how.
Yeah,
okay, in that scenario, like who?
Yeah, I think I get what you're trying to say there. Yeah, I think I get what you're trying to say there. When it comes to, okay, if, like, let's say if you're a fintech, or if you're any kind of application that is going to actually collect that, that kind of data, and you need to use, sorry, there's some noise in the background.
Please mute.
Probably mute everyone. Emmanuel Mandela. Oh,
yes.
Can you mute, please?
I think it's all right now. Go on.
Yeah. Can you mute on? No, Robert. Just mute on your end also.
Okay.
Okay. I think now it's no more. Sorry. Yeah. So obviously, what would happen is, okay. Let me actually explain it like this. Have you noticed of late, if you're trying to get onboarded onto mobile money, but then your customer details, or let's say your identification details that is supposed to be in the system is not complete, your SIM card will not be onboarded onto mobile money. So in that case, what we've put in place is that while, okay, there's a policy, for instance, when you are going to be onboarded onto mobile money wallet platform, it will have to go and check the SIM registration details of that person. If the SIM registration details of that person does not meet the criteria, and the criteria says, for instance, your ID has to match the actual picture that we took. The photo on your ID has to match the actual picture that we take, and it's supposed to be a better quality picture. If that criteria is not met, we will not onboard you. So now, from your end, if you want to also implement your application, and you want to make sure that your customer detail is the right customer detail, you have to make sure that that check is also done. if that check is not done, then obviously you would also have a lot of ghosts in your platform. They would be having obviously some information that is not really theirs. Even if some fraud happens, if you want to try to track them, you would not get them. But then on our end, what we make sure is that we put that criteria in place. And if that criteria, when that criteria is in place, we will sieve out the people who are not properly registered in the system and make sure that the only people who are onboarded onto the mobile money platform, for instance, are the people who are properly registered. And we obviously advise you to come to the customer care center and then do the proper registration. Sometimes the problem is usually with the quality of the picture that was taken then. So it did not meet the criteria. So if you come back, you can rectify that. And I think you'll be up and running. So I think you would also have a similar thing in your application, Malish.
Ochaya, Jackson, and Mabior, I think, wanted to say something. So over to you guys.
Yes. My question goes to Maurice. You know, there is some scenario that happened when one subscribed to MTN data bundles. You'll find that within few minutes, you'll find that the data is now out. So I don't know, is it done with the institutional knowledge from MTN, or it is a computer mischief, or it is the user mischief? Because it's always happening, and I don't know why.
So based on the knowledge that the information that I know, and this is what I can tell you, is that if you have background applications running in your phone, chances are that they are the ones consuming that data. But then, if you need more information, obviously you can probably check with our customer care guys. They should be able to help you, because I think they have, they can check from their side just to, to clarify that for you. But based on what I have been told, is that most times the background data is the one that is consuming that. So you have to also go back to your phone and check if there are any updates, like automated updates that you have set up, for instance. You just have to make sure that you switch them off so that it doesn't eat up your data.
Yeah, and Maurice, a lot of people, by the way,
Maurice, I think with that
leave a lot of their sorry, Nick. A lot of people leave up a lot of their background data running. So, and when they're consuming the data, they end up blaming you. So I actually knew they were going to ask you this question. Over to you, Nick. Nick.
Yeah. So about data usage or data consumption, I don't think background processes can consume that much data. Okay, that is according to me as an application developer. Okay, I don't think the consumption will be that much. I think it's just something on the MTN side, because if you use other service providers, like maybe Digital or Zain, the same thing doesn't happen. So I think Maurice should have a discussion with his team about what's really happening.
Maurice, maybe you can take that down as a note, but to my knowledge, when I used to use Safaricom, it used to happen like that. And when you call them, they usually tell you like turn off the background data on apps that you're not constantly using or that are not active. So you might think like doesn't consume a lot, but if there are so many, it accumulate and really goes in hugely into your data. Yeah, but maybe Maurice and his team will go and look at it and try to rectify if it is mainly on their side. So Mabior, you raise up your hand, and I don't know if you're still there. Hello, Mabior.
Yes, I see. Yes, I see Ochaya, Emmanuel, and Modi's hands up.
Ochaya, I think is the one you just answered this question about data.
I've asked already. I've asked.
Yeah. So
right.
Modi, Moses, and Emmanuel, to you guys.
Yes, I have a question to Morris. And my question is about the data. Like, for instance, you may subscribe to the MTN data, but their network will went off. Again, they will come and consume the data that you subscribe for, and it was not your own fault, but their own fault where their network went off. Again, they will come and chop all your MBs. I don't know why is that happening. And secondly, is about the SIM card. Sometimes some customers, maybe you were not having a nationality or passport or any ID card that you can go and buy your SIM card and register with. Maybe you may register with someone's ID. Later on, if you want to go and change, they will say, no, it can't work out. Why?
Okay, so I just wanted to start with the second one for the SIM card registration. It is a directive by the regulator to, to us to make sure that we use specific documents. We can't use each and every document. So we are allowed to only use specific documents. So if we don't comply, then we shall be in trouble. So that's why we stick to the documents that have been, told to us by the regulator. When it comes to the data consumption bit of it that you're saying, that when the whatever goes off, I have followed up with something similar to that before, and based on what I saw then, is that there is so for instance, let's say if we have a fiber cut that obviously affects the internet, a list of the users that did subscribe during that period of time will be actually, because we get a lot of these complaints. So a list of those users would be fetched out from the system, and then those users would be reimbursed during the period of time when the data comes back. And I have personally followed up with an instance where that happened, because there are a number of people who are affected, and they also reached out on that specific aspect. I don't know when your incident happened, but based on what I also checked with the customer care team and the customer experience team, is that they do that just to make sure that the customer experience is not affected. But in case, it doesn't, like if you have a similar problem recently, I doubt whether they would not reimburse, because ideally, from the last time this happened, this keeps on happening. The reimbursement keeps on happening, just to make sure that the customers are happy.
Hey, I hope the next session is now about MTN.
Yes, it's about information security, and I also wanted to let you know about something, guys. So for us in information security, when we say data, we don't mean the mobile, the internet data. We mean the actual personal identifiable information, or even it could be CDRs or customer caller details and stuff like that. That is the kind of data that we talk about in information security.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Maurice. Any other question, Moses?
Hey.
Yes.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. Thanks so much. This is a very important session. I think end users basically will continue asking Maurice a lot of questions about data and what. Okay, I'll touch a little on what Maurice talked about. Maybe just some answers also that I have already came across. The last person that asked the question about me, for example, I register using my colleague's ID since I don't have an ID card. There are instances whereby once you get your ID, since you registered with someone's, you can go to the customer care center. Both of you, the first one whose ID was used at first, and then yours, because these guys do edit. You get it? So these two details can be edited and it is changed from the previous person to yours. I think that is a response I can give to the first one. I don't know if it has changed That is some time back. That's what I know. Then this sensitive one on data consumption. Yeah, one could be applications running on the background. And then people also don't pay much attention into when you are connected to 4G or 3G. These are different, consumption rates are different. So when you're on 4G, it is a high. When you're on 3G, it is a little bit lower. This, I think, also leads to the differences in consumption rates. And then lastly, I'll just be adding on the awareness bit. Most of us, I must say, most users that we have within the country, they are not aware of most of these tricks that these guys use. So indeed, it is important. Awareness have to go on. It's good SafetyComm has come in, and the awareness have to always, the pages have to be used in awareing these guys as much as possible. Few people know about these tricks and how they can cover around with them. So awareness have to continue. And then tomorrow is, of course, I can see the pages of MTN these days. They are having a lot of engagements. So I think this awareness, once a while, you just put it there, maybe daily and what. It's very important. By time, guys will get to know how to play around with
Moses, thank you for that insight. Thank everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And sorry for those of you that came late. We have shared a lot of information before you came in. But now I think it's time to, our time is up. And like I said before, this was made possible by the collaboration on International ICT Policy in Eastern and Southern Africa, in short, CIPESA. So they're the one that made this possible, and hopefully we'll have more of these interactive sessions so that once you tune in and then you go back later, you can speak to other people, and then But as a user, make sure you do your part. Make sure you have a strong password. Make sure you don't share it with anyone. Make sure you do your part, like you have the basic online safety hygiene or the right one. And how will you do that on our SafetyComm platforms? Usually, recently we have not been posting, but soon we're going to be putting out constant and consistent content that is creating awareness about how you can be safe online. Or if you're not sure, you can reach out to us. You can just message us that, well, how do I go about this? And we will be able to help you on how you can protect yourself online from all kinds of scams or getting your account compromised. So, and my colleague Mukeni said earlier that while you're online, be paranoid. Like, that's keyword. So after here, for those of you that came in and you don't know my name is Robert Arik. I am the coordinator for SafetyComm South Sudan. And my colleague that did the presentation is Maurice Elisama, the information security manager for MTN, and for Kenny Innocent, he is a cybersecurity professional as well, and he is doing consultancy with the National Communication Authority. Otherwise, that's all from us. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.